Hi there, welcome to Turland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading. Had more flipped over than I thought. For Aquarius energy, and like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Aquarius, the bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. We all have our dualistic nature of free will, and we have to make decisions in our life. And some people in their Aquarius energy right now could be debating within themselves. They might want to move forward in life a little differently, have a little more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in love or in others. But they could struggle with the bottom row, which could represent some of their fears or their insecurities, could represent how they're currently living their life, kind of their comfort zone. We can have different people in our life who align with our more high vibe nature, and have people in our life that we maybe like to hang out with, more from our worldly nature. And, you know, some of the people, if we live our life differently, maybe we'd quit a job, wouldn't hang out, do certain things, be in certain friendships or relationships. Or, you know, we'd have to grow up and kind of quit acting in certain ways, because the bottom row can just represent issues within ourselves. And then sometimes the people in our life kind of, our people are on that same page, right? So, everybody taps into Aquarius energy. So some people in their Aquarius energy are operating on a more high vibrational Aquarius energy than some people who might be in a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. Shadow energy can represent our shadow nature: pride, ego, fear, insecurity, codependency, lazy, rude, mean, manipulative. You know, it's just ways of interacting with people that aren't more enlightened to the truth, that treating other people the way you like to be treated, just, fair, authentic, loving. So this might be something that is going on in Aquarius energy right now. So it might more affect people who are in Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising sign. But in turn, it affects all of us. So the reason for the top rose reading is the healer of the ages. And we start out up there with all tied up in reverse and woman holding a coin in reverse. That could mean, I view the all tied up card as Gemini energy, and Gemini, well, I view it as like the Eight of Swords. Gemini is about our dualistic nature, and we can either indulge our more immature, stubborn, prideful, shadowy kind of nature or whatever, or we can indulge other people who are like that. And we can either stay up in our head about it, or kind of the truth sets us free. We can heal. We can heal from our past pain and heartbreak. We can have offered to heal relationships and be just and fair and authentic and loving with people. But everybody else has free will. And some people in their own Gemini free will nature within themselves, they don't want love is to be just and fair. So the healer of the ages with like Jesus on the picture is like about love. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And if you're going to like be in a romantic relationship, it should be because of love, not for some other worldly reason, you know, like how it benefits you and the pride and the ego and being indulged. So some people aren't up in their head about love. Some other people could be up in their head about love. Some people aren't as much emotionally in the Queen of Pentacles, so caught up in their head about the ego or the image or the status or being indulged, aren't as manipulated by the world. And if their truth is, I'm not up in my head as much about those things, they probably wouldn't want to hang around other people that are kind of more consumed with those things. And when they work through some of their fears or insecurities about high vibe energy as being more independent, not being manipulated more by the world, by your ego, by the past, by your fear, we can love other people and wish them peace, but if they aren't wanting to be more just, fair, authentic, loving, and haven't gotten out of their head about being more caught up in themselves or these things of the world, I think high vibe people work through their fear from a place of love to get out of their head about it. And the pentacle can talk about a person's truth. I'm not going to be up in my head about people anymore who I've seen the truth that in their dualistic nature of free will, they might, again, the woman holding heart down here can kind of be, I view it as the Queen of Pentacles. We all have the free will to decide what we love and what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into in the Queen of Pentacles and our truth that we love. And the truth is, some people are more about themselves, more about the world, indulge themselves, want to be indulged, or, just living their life in a way that maybe we could have lived our life at that way too, just like we've been 18, 21, and 25. Do we want to keep saying 18, 21, or 25 years old? No. And sometimes when some people are ready to move forward a little differently in life, we'll all repeat a certain pattern until we heal, till we learn the lesson we were meant to learn from it. And then when we learn that lesson, some of the things that used to have us up in our head and some of the things we used to want to go invest our time, energy, and effort into, and some of the things that we love doing, we don't anymore. It's just kind of like you outgrew a stage of life. If you're willing to, it's like we go through all these different phases of life to learn lessons at that phase of life. And we come in contact with all these different people to kind of help us get clear about our truth. What do I love? What's my truth? And sometimes we get in more mismatched relationships. We all, for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, I think, are pretty caught up in the world, and ourselves to a degree, depending on our age, but as we go through life, there's a lot of things we want to go indulge in, kind of in our more worldly, egoic nature, that with the door to romance, for one, we want to be in friendship and relationship with people. But this card also reminds me, I think because of the coloring, it's been reminding me of the Justice card lately, which is Libra energy. But at any stage of life, we're going to live our life at whatever kind of emotional maturity level that we're at. So when we were 15, when we were 18, when we were 21, when we were 25, was it kind of just and fair for us to live our life that way? Is it just and fair for other people to live their life at those stages of life? Yeah, that's where they're at. That's how they think. That's how they feel. That's how they perceive themselves. It's how they perceive the world. It's just that, probably for those first 30 to 50 years, we're pretty influenced by these things of the world. And there's a lot of things we want to go invest in. And we got a lot of lessons to learn. And that's kind of just and fair because we do have this dualistic nature. And as we go on that journey in life, hopefully we will keep listening to our intuition, is what the door to spirit can talk about. And the world can talk about learning lessons. Go through those stages of life. It is part of going on this journey of getting more clear about what your truth is and truth isn't. And hopefully in the world card, you learn lessons. And the hostilities card is kind of like the 5 and 7 of swords. Both the 5 and the 7 are Aquarius energy. But the 5s and 7, all suits of the deck, are these kind of difficult periods in our life because we could move forward in things and we could have the best of intentions. Other people can have the best of intentions. Sometimes we didn't have the best of intentions, but we go down that path. And again, because life is all about trying to get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't, for us and other people, we can have those difficult time periods in a relationship or even a job, right? We move forward in something, everybody could think, yay, this is great. Well, and that can go on for a while, but, then, we're complex human beings dealing with other complex human beings. And, Aquarius energy can talk about, again, I had this dream. Well, I can get in a friendship or relationship with someone, and I had my idea. Aquarius is air sign energy of the mind, kind of like your idea. I had my idea of what was just and fair and how I thought things were going to move forward. And then we're moving forward with other people in friendship or relationship, and they kind of had their idea of what they think is just and fair and their idea of the dream relationship. And then it's like we can go through periods where it's kind of like, there can be conflict. And then are we still on the same page? Or we kind of might learn some, as we get to know other people, we kind of learn more about what kind of drives them, motivates them, what they think is just and fair, their idea of the dream life, what they like to invest their time, energy, and effort into, what we like to. And then we have to decide, can we work through those things? Are we kind of on the same page? Did we kind of realize we're not? Sometimes we can get along with people in certain circumstances, like maybe at work. But then if you go out more in the real world with them and doing things, it's like, this doesn't really work for us. We're maybe too different or something. Can we get along at work? Yeah. And same way we have people in our family. Can we get along in certain circumstances? Do we want to maybe hang out together more? Then we don't really get along because we could have these different ways of living life or viewpoints in life. And so, you kind of learn probably, yeah, those people or that person, I do get along with them while at work, but outside of work, I don't really. Or a family member, we can get along fine in family, like holidays, but to hang out with them more in a social setting and, that doesn't really work or something. Well, what happens when, it can be difficult if one person kind of wants to tell the other person, I don't think I want to move forward in this anymore. An employer can tell an employee that, an employee could tell an employer, a friend or romantic interest could tell someone that. And it can really be hard if we have mental conflict about it. Because, we could have love for those people, but kind of we think our dreams are different and maybe our truth is different. And so then what we kind of might realize with some people that we were in a more mismatched relationship with is that we could harness this energy differently. Maybe also in addition to that, we harness our Aquarius energy differently. And again, there's a lot of people in our life that we kind of have a more mismatched relationship if we look back through our lifetime. And there's always going to be people in our life where, again, kind of what we think is just and fair, kind of what we're driven and motivated by, the lessons that we've learned in life, where some people might be more tempered in their ego, some people might be more just and fair, other people might not be as tempered in their ego, other people might not be as just as fair. And then in Aquarius energy, it can just be, are people more, shadowy Aquarius can be people where it's kind of more about them. Everybody else should put aside their pride and ego in this relationship, but not me. I'm like the star of the show. And so sometimes you can have someone in an environment that you're in that can kind of behave poorly, but either because they're in a position of power or authority, or they're just difficult to deal with. It's kind of like everybody is supposed to indulge them in their poor behavior, but they certainly wouldn't want other people to act like that or behave like them, but they somehow think it's just and fair that they act like that. It can be with some people that they are more caught up in the world. That is their truth. It is kind of all about the ego and the image and the status. And some people could be very competitive, shadowy energy, kind of represented by the devil. It can be people who are much more competitive, jealous, envious. They might not want to see the truth that they're, because that's also shadowy energy, kind of wanting to stay in denial of the truth. They might have a hard time seeing how they could be difficult people to get along with, that they do think they should be indulged. They do think they're more the star of the show, that they are more driven by the ego and image and status than love. But also this card, which is the victory card, which is Leo energy. You know, we're either still more aligned and operating from our more egoic nature, which can be prideful, defensive, egotistical, more materialistically driven, ego-driven, self-driven, indulge ourselves in poor behavior, immaturity, lazy, whatever it could be, right? And we can get in relationships with people who hide, with that card not showing itself, that they are more shadowy than they might try to portray themselves as being. And we don't know that till we've been in friendship or relationship with them for a while. And it can be difficult to, you know, just like if a person has a job, much less a friendship or relationship with people, it's hard, you know, there can be a lot of things that we liked about it. We had this dream that we wanted to bring into reality. And, you know, we can have a hard time kind of wanting to see the truth also, is kind of what the 5 and the 7 of Swords can be. Because we can have a hard time accepting that some of the people in our life that, you know, even if we wanted to stay at a job, I really don't want to leave this job, you know. And Aquarius is fixed sign energy, where when we put work and effort into something, we could want it to work out the way we wanted it to work out. And even if we had a job, it's like, you know, we'd all like the things that we've invested in to work out the way we wanted them to work out. And so then we can have this mental conflict about leaving something and seeing the truth of something. So for a long time, we can stay in the mental conflict of like the 5 and the 7 of Swords, because we kind of don't want to see the truth. You know, and some people, maybe at one time, they did seem more just and fair. You know, but as we go down the path of life, you know, people can change. You know, it can be slowly or it can be quickly, but, you know, you're going down the road of life and then somebody kind of drives their life off into the ditch. And then they're like, this is great, I want to keep doing this. And you're like, you know, that wasn't how the impression was when I took the job or got in the friendship or the relationship. But now you seem to have driven, you know, living your life differently. And some people can be defensive to you. You know, in high vibe, people can, instead of driving their life off into the ditch, they change for the better. And they did heal and grow and mature themselves. And they're not as maybe not the same person that they were. And then people can become defensive to those people because, well, I liked it when you were in this energy and you were more caught up in these things and you viewed life this way. And maybe you did have your own mental conflict and your own past pain and heartbreak, and about being maybe in high vibe energy more independent, more free from things that manipulated you. In either case, we could feel as if some people are growing and healing and maturing themselves, and some people just keep staying the same. And we could, as we kind of heal from our past pain and heartbreak, some of our self-limiting beliefs, free ourselves from some things that manipulate us, we could see how some people in our life, and we might know them well enough to know some of those things that kind of manipulate them. And we could see that they are defensive to offering love to those things and themselves in order to kind of make peace with it and heal from some of those things, to kind of get out of their ego about it. The victory card is like the 6 of Wands. So, the 5 of Wands can mention that we're either caught up in our worldly nature, or there's things that cause us inner conflict, cause us mental conflict, but we can all choose not to deal with it. Let's just keep going and moving forward the way we've been moving forward. And that's how some people want to deal with things. And that might be how some people deal with things all their life. Other people are like, when I have some inner conflict and some mental conflict, and I'm starting to feel kind of like manipulated or controlled, I don't like that. So what some people didn't realize about the more high vibrational people in their life is that in their fire sign energy, they are more inspired to deal with the truth and get to the truth of it. And so they don't, everybody can have their own tolerance level of how much inner conflict, mental conflict they can stay in, and some people stay in inner conflict and mental conflict all their life. Some people stay very angry, very mad, very competitive, very jealous all their life, and other people, I don't want to live my life like that. And then I kind of view this card as, since this to me looks like a man dressed up as a lady, if that, in high vibe, that would be good. Because we all have our more masculine nature, which is represented by our more worldly nature, and egoic nature, which is represented kind of more by the masculine cards. Because when we go out and present ourselves in the world, we are considered being in masculine energy. Nobody really knows how we think and feel, and that can be represented more by the feminine figures, because anybody can wear a false mask. And anybody can go out in the world, and again, that's considered masculine energy, but how do we really think and feel? And we can move forward with people who are kind of wearing a false mask, that they're more motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness, and then as time goes by, we kind of realize they're more defensive to being inspired by truth and love than we realized. And so we could feel like some people wear a false mask, male or female. They try to present themselves as more motivated and inspired by love. And also I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy, which is about deep, meaningful relationships. And we kind of realize we really can't have a more deep, meaningful, balanced relationship with them, because that's really not the truth of who they are. Do they want to be in the friendship and relationship and enjoy the friendship and relationship? Yeah. Could they want it to keep moving forward? It would be like a dream come true, good for the status and the ego and image and all those things. But they are more defending of wanting to operate still from their ego, which can be their self-protected defensive nature, and kind of keep wearing a false mask of presenting themselves as being more motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness, but it's kind of a mask that they wear in order to get people to get in friendship and relationship with them, but they're defensive to authentically taking action more from love. You have to come out from behind your ego to do love, your self-protective defensive nature. And you also have to quit being more about yourself, or thinking it should be more about you. And there's some people in the world, a more shadowy philosophy of a relationship is, it's not really just and fair. Whoever seems to have more maybe of these things of the world, or the status or image or attractive or social clout, or, whatever it is that people value, that person should be the more privileged person in the relationship. And everybody should not expect them probably to change. And they might not think they do need to change, because if they do think they have these certain traits, characteristics, or ways of being that they think they can get people to be in a friendship with them, they just might be very smart, Aquarius energy from the mind, maybe they feel like they can just manipulate everybody, and they don't really have to do love. Maybe people who aren't as smart as them have to do love. But if you do love, you get hurt. So they could think, I have figured out shadowy energy is like kind of how to cheat the justice system. I don't have to be just and fair. I don't really have to do love. I have an idea. I'm just going to create the illusion that I'm a just and fair and stable and grounded and emotionally mature loving person. And because I'm so smart and I wear such a good false mask and I present myself in such a certain way, I'm sure nobody will see through the illusion. Well, people who are more balanced, the sixes can talk about balance. This is balance. Other people who are more balanced between their worldly nature and their hopeful, believing, loving nature and aren't more defensive and egoic or immature, and they're more connected in with their emotionally intuitive nature. That's something they can't control, and that can make some people really mad, because if it weren't for that gift we were given, which we have the free will to listen to or not listen to, some of these more shadowy people in the world could get away with a lot more shit. And if people were more caught up and manipulated by their want for these things of the world, or to be in friendship or relationship to such a degree that they would ignore the truth, and some people take those jobs, get in those friendships, get in those relationships, and they can be in them for a long time, because some people are, very good at wearing a false mask. And they can seem like very just and fair and stable and grounded and loving people in a lot of ways. And it's not till maybe quite a long time in the relationship until you realize that it's not really love that drives and motivates them. This works for them. It's good for their ego and their image. So long as, you buy into the illusion of who they are and view them as a just and fair and loving person, it works. But eventually, what can happen again is it doesn't become a more deep, meaningful relationship over time. Can we all learn some lessons along the way together? Maybe being helpful and loving and encouraging to each other? Yes. But eventually we might get down to this core foundational truth in our Gemini nature of free will, which we were given. Are you more about having hope and faith and belief in love? Or are you more, not that, lack a little hope and faith and belief in love, like to be in relationships, because we all do, but it's more about ultimately you and your self-protective defensive nature, or more about these things of the world. And you realize it's not really love. And for some of you, you might find out that it wasn't really inspired by love, because when they had an opportunity to maybe be in a relationship with someone else where it was more about, well, something else. They wanted it to be more about them. Or, we can be in a friendship or relationship with people. We can be loving and encouraging and supportive of each other, and we're moving forward in life. But we can get to a stage in a relationship where one person then is kind of ready to keep moving forward, or move forward again in some way, kind of shed an old layer of themselves and face their fears and move forward in life a little differently again, just like we did age 15, 18, 21, 25. And some people could have a lot of mental conflict about going to that next phase of life, just like we all do, but we all kind of temper our fears and our insecurities and face our have more hope and faith and belief that we can go to that next stage of life and be victorious and successful at different stages of life. I grew up and matured myself during these different stages and ages of life at a different pace and rate than some other people did. Other people could have been much more stable and balanced and hopeful and believing in themselves, and they kind of didn't do some of the things I did in life, and they moved forward quicker. than maybe I did. And just like we have ours, other people have theirs. And sometimes some people aren't ready to move forward in life a little differently because there we can all have this way at whatever stage of life we had been in that we still view as just and fair, and that's kind of how we're still viewing the world. And when some people could have some mental conflict living their life a certain way and continuing to do it, and they're kind of ready to move forward differently, the other people aren't. And sometimes we've been the one who was in this energy and other people moved on ahead of us. And sometimes we were in relationships where we were ready to move forward and other people in our life weren't ready to move forward. I mean, and so we can offer love and encouragement just like we've had people offer it to us at different times. And we're like, no way, man. I'm living the dream over here, man. I don't want to do that. And I don't know why you're doing that. You should do this. We can be on either side at different times in our life. And there could have been a lot of times in our life where we did have a lot more fear of moving forward in our life and maybe being inspired to listen to our intuition or love ourselves and work through our fears and insecurities that we had, so we kept kind of repeating past patterns. Well, we could know some other people who feel that way, and so they keep repeating past patterns. So, though it causes us mental conflict, it's to, even like, if we think about at times in our life when we could have been people in our life who are more maybe stable and grown and matured, even just like our parents, honey, why are you doing that? Why are you living your life like that? I'm afraid you're driving your life off into the ditch. Eventually they kind of had to, they're not God, and everybody has free will, and you can't make other people heal or grow or mature themselves. Everybody's kind of got to go on this journey to learn these lessons themselves and work through, because we don't really know a lot of times what are some of the issues, the issues I could have had in my life that made me live my life or make the decisions I made in my life that other people's could be completely different, and I don't understand what it is, just like other people in my life didn't understand why I thought or felt the way I did. And I'm on my own unique journey of things I need to work through, and other people are on their unique journey of what they need to work through, and we can't understand it necessarily. But the big thing is to get out of our ego about it. Trust that the divine has a plan for everyone. Everyone might have to go on their own journey to learn some difficult lessons, just like the rest of us did. And if the journey that they're going on, we don't want to keep going on it with them. Hopefully in the energy of love, we can wish some people peace. You go do you, but that's not my truth. And my intuition is telling me to get out of my ego about it, stay in an energy of love, stay in an energy of balance, wish you peace and love, but that's not my truth, and I don't want to invest in that. Either that type of relationship dynamic, and again, sometimes we can get in relationships with people where we add hope and faith and belief, trying to inspire other people to work through some of their issues. And maybe we could have gotten in a more mismatched, imbalanced relationship, but we didn't want it to stay a more mismatched, imbalanced relationship forever. We were hoping it was going to get more balanced. And some of the people that we got in relationships with, they're like, I like this. This works for me. If I'd wanted to be in a more balanced relationship, I maybe wouldn't have gotten in a relationship with you. And there can be people in the world who are a little more, maybe they're more immature, more reckless, more full of themselves, more stubborn, whatever they are. It's just looking for other people to come get in a relationship with them. Like, oh, you have come over here to kind of learn some lessons from me? Come on in. Let's get in a relationship. Oh, and you think I'm going to change? Yeah, no, I'm not going to change. But hey, you think I'm going to change? I'll enjoy the relationship for as long as it lasts, and until you want to see the truth that I have free will and you're not God, and I'm not going to change my life for you, and you didn't want to listen to your intuition, and you thought, it's kind of all of us in our God complex thinking we can change other people. And it should be more about seeing the truth, that when people show us, oh, by the way, I'm more immature. Yes, I see that. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No. But of course, we did with some people. Oh, you're more defensive and prideful. Am I going to get a more involved relationship with you? No. But, that all comes with time. And kind of wanting no longer a mental conflict about willing to see the truth. I've already learned those lessons from other people. And if people show me, regardless of how they present themselves in the world, if as I kind of just get to know them, like I would anyone in the world who seems to present themselves as just and fair people, I'm not going to get in a victorious move forward with them in a more emotionally invested relationship until I feel like I have gotten to know them enough that I more clearly know what drives and motivates them, because I've already gotten in relationship with people who are wearing a false mask, or showed me from the beginning they were more immature, stubborn, prideful, bossy, controlling, and I didn't really kind of want to see the truth of it. Well, no more living in denial. Now, if people show me these truths about them, I say thank you. Yes, you stay in the friend zone. If you're in my neighborhood, my workplace, my family, is that how kind of relationship I want to be in? Is that my idea of a dream relationship? No. So I don't move forward with you creating the illusion it is. We're probably going to have a little conflict if people overtly want to, I don't know. It's just everybody, God uses shadowy people in the world just like God has used us when we were in more shadowy energy to help other people get more clear about their truth. And all the shadowy people that have come in your life, if you are willing to get out of your ego and see the truth that you can't change people, you can offer people truth and love and inspiration, but if in their free will nature that isn't how they want to operate more authentically in a relationship, then you're kind of trying to build a foundation, theirs from more of themselves or the world, and yours from love, that a mismatched foundation, a house divided, can't stand. So you're taking the lessons that you've learned. Can you be a loving and encouraging person to different people in the world? Yeah. I don't want to be a negative person in the world. It's trying to help other people love and believe in themselves. But am I going to get more in a more involved relationship with people who've already shown me that they're more, you could even look to the door to spirit as their fire sign energy of what they're inspired by, and they're more inspired by the world or themselves or things they like to indulge in, and that's kind of their truth. They have a more worldly, free will Gemini nature within themselves. It's like, okay, I see the truth of it. This dream I had cannot come into reality because our truth is different, and I'm going to get out of my ego that there will be no victory here in moving forward in the same truth. Can we get along? Can, be friends, be family? Yes. But done thinking that, it's more about love, there's might be these other reasons. So I get out of my head about it. That's not my truth. Don't want to keep investing in that. Can stay in the energy of love. But then through these 4 cards, working through how you could have harnessed those energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, which could be what caused you to get in some of these friendships and relationships and stay in them. And you don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to repeat this pattern. And there's always going to be shadowy people, attractive people, charming people, people who seem just and fair, and they're not really, you know? And I need to see what it is within me that would make me be drawn and attracted to people like that. What wasn't, how in my own worldly nature could I have, because it's within me. There's always going to be shadowy people in the world. I can't change all the shadowy people in the world. So I need to see what it is within me and my more worldly nature that would make me kind of not want to see the truth about those people when they're basically kind of showing me the truth, but I want to stay in denial of it. And I need to work through that and harness it in a more high vibe way because I don't want to repeat that. So what is it? The storm warning, the walking away, the adjacent possibilities, and the second chakra. So, well, the storm warning card is like the Tower card. We all have our own fears, insecurities, codependencies. And maybe before, in a more codependent energy, we could look to the world and look outside of ourselves and look to other people to love us, for us to feel better. And because we just hadn't learned that it kind of starts within us. And if I haven't learned to kind of stand up for myself and be inspired within myself to love myself, I'm going to keep looking outside of myself for something to be the answer. And I did, and it probably didn't work out the way I wanted, because then I was in relationships with other people who maybe hadn't learned to love themselves. We're also looking to other people to love them. And also, we could have just been, the Tower card can represent, we were just more caught up in our more worldly nature of these things that we wanted to manifest, and we just had lessons to learn. But after we kind of go through it enough times, it's like I'm not as manipulated more by the things of the world anymore. It is more wanting justice and fairness and love. And I've learned that some of the things I used to invest in or make my life about weren't the answer. And it could have forced some people to have to learn to love themselves, that if they wanted things to be different, again, they couldn't change other people, so it's to change themselves. I need to change. It's not, I mean, we could feel like in a relationship, like, yeah, or even a boss at work, if they didn't do this and if they didn't do that, yeah, but we can't change them. They're the only ones who can change them. So then, in turn, if we want the situation to change, we have to change. So I have to deal with my own fears of detaching from this. If I don't like this workplace, this friendship, this relationship, could it all be better if some of the other people were willing to grow and heal and mature themselves also? Yeah, but I can't make other people do that. And they have the free will to live their life whatever way they want. So, you know, we might have to detach from something that we really didn't want to detach from, and people that we could love, or a job that we love. Because I can't keep staying somewhere where I feel like nothing is going to change. You know, if I'm going to work together with other people, all the people have to be willing to get out of their more defensive, egoic nature, to be willing to work together cooperatively in love. And if they're not, I need to be willing to see the truth of it. And I need to see that if this isn't my truth, and my dream is not going to come into reality here, that I need to love and believe in myself to kind of go get the justice I deserve. Wish them peace and love. You keep doing what you want to do. But The walking away card kind of reminds me of the Eight of Wands and the Eight of Cups, which can be before people were being loving and encouraging and kind of indulging people, hoping, it's like that's the energy of love. You can give and give and give and give, but if people aren't motivated within themselves in turn to act with love, and love is to be just and fair and you treat other people the way you like to be treated, that then I'm not going to keep offering and being inspired to keep offering love to other people who show me that's not their truth. They have the free will to walk away themselves from their more shadowy or stubborn or defensive or immature ways of being. But if that's not their truth, then I'm not going to keep staying there. It's kind of like Judgment Day. And the adjacent possibilities kind of reminds me of the Seven of Cups card. To offer love to the situation, to accept the truth of it. So kind of viewing this as the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups comes after the Six of Cups. And the sixes, again, can talk about balance, like the Six of Wands. I have offered love to the situation, and I've offered love to myself to work through my own mental conflict about that I am not happy in this situation. I do not think it's just and fair. But I've had a hard time walking away and standing up for my truth because I could love some people here, love the job, love the person. But I can't keep staying in unbalanced, unstable energy. I want, that would be high vibe Libra. If I have been willing to temper my ego, work through some of my fears, my insecurities, my self-limiting beliefs, whatever, and I've kind of come out on the other side, I've been offering love and truth and encouragement to other people to do that, and some people will move forward with me in that way in my life, and then just other people in the world are doing that at the same time I'm doing that. But if some of the people in my life are like, no, I'm not ready to do that, I want to keep doing this, it's like, then peace and goodwill to you, whatever. But I've made peace with it. I am ready to do things differently. I have wrapped my brain around it. I have accepted the truth. I don't enjoy it. And I've reconciled myself to the fact that then those people will probably go get in relationships with people who are still wanting to live their life like that, or think that's okay to be treated that way or something. And I made peace with it. And it's going to invest in the second chakra. Some of these people could be people in the first chakra that are people that are in a core foundation with you. For some of them, they could be people you've known since you were young, and you've been in friendship with them, and you thought you were all going to move forward together all your life, and so it can be really hard to let go of them. Other people could be in your family, and that's like a core foundational. But I think a bigger thing that happens, that these things can happen throughout our life, but in our fire sign energy and our Aquarius energy, as we get older, just being more caught up in these things of the world and all of that stuff, it's kind of like, maybe doing that the first half of your life. You just look at life differently, and it just doesn't drive and motivate you the way it did when you were like maybe under age 50. And a big change happens between maybe people between 30 and 50 also, like say the people who do get in partnerships and relationships and children or pets and living their life differently than people who still 0 through 30 aren't ready to do that, and they're not doing it, So then it is kind of like as if you live in different universes. You view the world completely different. Your priorities are kind of different. But then when you kind of go through that phase, and that phase is kind of coming to an end, then people might really have some more time to really think about, what's next and what motivates and inspires them, and maybe more about really investing more in friendships and relationships. And some people always were those types of people, but I don't want to be more in these friendships and relationships and maybe even have to deal with people I don't even really like, or, some people, depending on their job or how they live their life, could have to put up with a lot more people that, in order to make, rubbing elbows and kissing people's ass or something like that, more so than other people. But eventually we'd probably like to be in relationships where we don't want to keep doing that to whatever degree we were doing it. And then it can be, I want to work with people who maybe even, this is the second chakra. If this kind of represented the first chakra, it could have been, again, even that first 50 years of our life, to really get a more solid foundation within ourselves with all the different people we've known and loved and have loved us, and learning lessons from the people who weren't very just and fair or loving, and really getting a kind of getting that solid foundation laid. And then we're kind of ready to detach from that way of living life and really have really kind of gotten clear about our truth and are more inspired to free ourselves from things that manipulate us, which is high vibe Leo and high vibe Aquarius, I guess. I'm not as manipulated by my want of these things of the world like I was before. If people aren't more authentic and inspired, that could be high vibe Sagittarius, to be in more deep, meaningful relationships of Scorpio and work together cooperatively in peace and love, then you go find someone else to go do that with. So that's maybe what some high vibe Aquariuses are doing. What are some people who might harness some more shadowy Aquarius energy? They might be still just wanting to wear a false mask, don't want to see the truth, don't really want to be more just and fair, create the illusion that they're more motivated and inspired by love, try to stop people in their life from seeing the truth about people in their life who really were working together with them in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way, but they have mental conflict about that, but they don't want the people in their life to know that. So they try to confuse those people about the truth of the loving people and get those people to kind of indulge them and view them as a just and fair and loving person. But the problem is, if people aren't willing to temper their more immature, egoic, or bossy, or controlling, living more from their mind than their heart, the more high vibrational people in their life are going to move on from them. And it can always be just trying to find someone new to manipulate that doesn't know the truth about who they are. And then it's to do it all over again. And I don't know. Keep defending that thinking it should be more about them. People should indulge them. People shouldn't require them to grow or heal or mature themselves. They don't want to. It's like, you don't have to. But then you never did for yourself. And they could always be mad that other people work through those things. They get inspired to want to deal with the truth. And some people, they don't want to see the truth about themselves or the people they align themselves with. Because then maybe they'd have to move away from some of those people, and they could have people in their life that they love, and they're not willing to stand up for their truth, because some of those people then might become defensive to them. Are you willing to stand, when you stand up for truth and love? Yeah, how many people in the world didn't stand up for truth and love in the world and let some people be deceptive and manipulative and get away with some bullshit or a lot of awful things because they didn't want to, and some people did. It's like, oh, I'm not going to hang out with them. I don't think they're being truthful and honest. I think they're doing some shady shit over there. And then those people, there was other people then that didn't interact with them and didn't, I guess when anybody's ready to stand up for themselves, but you have to know when you do that there's going to be some people in your life who definitely aren't going to like it. Oh, and because shadowy people create an illusion, they could think that's what everybody does, that everybody's just maybe better at wearing a false mask, but that everybody wears a false mask. Everybody is more prideful, more about themselves, and it's just who can outwit who, and who can outmanipulate who, and who can more control someone. And those people have not been enlightened to the truth yet. That is the way they view life. And so it's hard for them to wrap their brain around the fact that other people free willingly made the choice to not align with that way of thinking or viewing life, and they are more inspired by love. And there is no ulterior purpose except to get along with people to the best that you can and treat them the way you like to be treated so that we can all kind of live in peace. And some people think, no, you're just trying to control me. No, you're just trying to manipulate me. It's like, I'm going to let you do that with someone else in that mindset. But they could think you're just creating an illusion. They could think you're creating a very good illusion. But what they don't get is that you're not creating an illusion. You're not trying to manipulate and control people about the truth of who you are. You are inspired authentically by love, and they can't understand it and relate to it. And some of the people, shadowy people, can be people who try to manipulate people to get them to do what they want. Some of those people tried that with you. And some of those people could think that that they still have you manipulated. And so they'll keep doing what they're doing, but they don't realize you've already moved on. You've already healed. But they think, oh no, I'm sure if I wanted to be in a friendship or relationship with them, they don't want to be in a friendship or relationship with me again. And it's like, I wish you peace and love, but, I've maybe seen over the time period that your truth is very different than my truth. What motivates and inspires you is very different than what motivates and inspires me. And I don't view you as someone I want to move forward with or view that as being a victory. But they don't know that. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? The cards has just been, as I've been sitting here talking and shuffling, they've done some weird things. The Tower and the Strength card, and the reason is because of the Queen of Cups. Because the high vibe people decided to offer love to themselves and the situation, they saw the truth. When you keep offering truth and love to the situation, eventually you can't keep not seeing the truth, which is the Tower is trying to get people to see the truth. You can't help but see the truth that you and some other people harness your Leo energy different and your Scorpio energy different. And this is Aries and Scorpio also. That what you love is different. The other people aren't willing to get out of their ego. They love operating more and motivated more by their ego and not wanting to see the truth and detach from their ego nature or their immature nature or their controlling nature or people in their life and things that manipulate and control them. And you can see that things weren't going to move forward the way you wanted because we have to be willing to deal with the truth and detach from what we need to detach from, that we could like or love, but it has such a hold on us, we're not able to live our more authentic life. Even if it's just our fear of love, we're not willing to come out from behind our ego nature, let go of our ego to do love. It's like, okay. And you accept the truth of it. And you get out of your ego about it. Everybody can love what they love. Some people don't want to temper their ego, don't want to be more authentically themselves, want to hide behind their ego, love making their life about their ego and their image or things they indulge in. And you accept the truth of it. And you offered love to yourself and the situation to let it go. Everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want. I'm not going to try to change people. And I accept the truth that maybe some of those people just, they're going to have to go learn some lessons maybe the hard way. Because some people, it wasn't that you're in a romantic relationship with them. You're just trying to work with them more cooperatively in truth and love, trying to get them to maybe love and believe in themselves, work through some of their fears or insecurities, their past pain and heartbreak. They're not ready to deal with those things, or they would probably deal with them, and maybe not even inspired to want to deal with them. And so it keeps manipulating them. It's like, okay. But in turn, it affects how they interact with other people and how they treat other people, and they might not want to see the truth of it. And you see the truth of it, and it's like, I am done kind of indulging people in poor behavior. It has, and I'm not going to keep staying in a more out of balance relationship. It has to be more just and fair, and it's not. So even though there can be people in my life that I have love for, I am detaching from those people because it keeps me from being in a foundation that's more aligned with my truth. So go do what you want to do. I'm going to go find people who are more aligned with my truth. And so we can move away from something, we can distance ourselves from something, but then the final thing is for the people who really did emotionally invest themselves in situations to emotionally quit being invested in it. And Scorpio is fixed sign energy also, just like Aquarius and Leo. Leo's fixed sign energy too. So initially, if some people right now are kind of just standing up for themselves in a way of maintaining balance within themselves in a relationship where they used to before, kind of get triggered, and sometimes that's what shadowy people can do because they want you to get more focused on them and disrupt your own healing and balance. And for some people right now that are just maintaining balance, and when people do this, I'm not going to respond the way I used to. It's like, you do you, I'm going to do me. And it becomes kind of more clear that you've changed. That can really cause some upset in a situation. And then if you keep standing up for your truth and the other people kind of keep doing what they're doing and you're not chasing after them or trying to indulge them, and you're just doing what's aligned with your truth to make you feel at peace and balance within yourself, that really can upset them. It really upsets them when other people aren't triggered and aren't playing the game and indulging them the way they used to. And then if you decide to, and odds are they'll keep doing more and more shadowy things in order to get you upset and get you out of peace. And and eventually that can happen, and it's not pretty for anyone because it kind of shows that they're really frustrated and angry and upset. But if you keep going, and eventually they'll do something that's kind of so egregious that you'll leave. You could get so frustrated and angry, then they can try to use that as an excuse to see they're not who they say they are. And eventually, the whole relationship ends. And the high vibe people are like, I feel freed from being in a relationship with people who are abusive and manipulative. The other people know that they were being manipulative and kind of abusive, but they're going to try to present themselves as different. And it's like, you go try to do that with whoever you want. I know my truth, and I know the truth of you, and I believe the truth will come out one day. And I'm just going to go live my truth. And then as you move forward, eventually you're more emotionally detached from them. And you've healed. And while you're moving forward more in truth and love, some other people are still trying to create an illusion about who they are. What's shocking that some people have happen is that some of the very people that they were being very patient with and loving and encouraging with and didn't want to detach from, when they finally do decide to move on, the other people, you'll be shocked that the very people you are trying to be loving and encouraging to try to confuse the world about the truth of who you are and lie about you. They're not just, they're not fair, they're not loving. And, it really helps you see the truth of some people and that's kind of what God is trying to get people to see. These people are not just and fair. These people are not acting with character and integrity. You keep hoping and believing that they are in the face of everything that they do. This is not going to end well. The sooner you realize it with them and everyone else you meet from this day moving forward, the better off you'll be, because it will never end well with people who show you they're not more truthful and authentic and just and fair. What's coming up for people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? The only thing is, the high vibe people overcome it all. It doesn't matter, because they have more to work with than the other people. The other people are more focused on trying to convince the world and make their life more about the world and them and their ego and their image. The other people, I'm standing up for my truth. I think my truth will speak for itself. The other people's truth isn't love, so the most important thing is their ego and their image. And so that's why they aren't willing to admit maybe that they're a fallible human being who had some healing and growing and maturing to do that they weren't willing to do, and be a fallible human being like some other people go through. And the other people aren't as concerned about it. I wasn't more about my ego and my image to begin with. So, if you want to tell people and try to throw my life in the toilet, go ahead, but I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm going to offer love to it, see the truth of it, trust the divine has a plan for me, offer love to myself, give myself the things I wish other people would have given me. And you can go do you. And you'll be set free. And they'll be repeating the same pattern with someone else. Okay, what's coming up for the shadowy people they don't see coming? A lot of things that aren't showing themselves. Well, for one, the way this could be interpreted is there's all these things they don't want to see the truth of, and they don't want other people in their life. Leo being also represented by the sun. They do not want other people in the world to be illuminated to the truth. That they wear a false mask. That they aren't who they say they are. And they don't want them to see that the other people are just and fair and loving, and they are who they say they are. So they keep rejecting the truth. And those people who harness this energy in a more high vibe way have left their life. They don't want people to know that. They keep trying to hide that they harness these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way. But they don't want the world to know that. So, what's going to keep happening is the same thing that's been happening. The more high vibe people in their life are going to quit defending this, hoping things will change. And they're going to love themselves and believe in themselves and work through their own fears of detaching from these people to be more independent and to love and believe in themselves. And they're going to get out of a relationship with these people. Friends or family. And they could always be surprised that, you know, if they create this certain illusion, or they know they've been friends with those people for a really long time, or even their own family members, could be surprised that those people are willing to not keep maintaining the illusion. But the more high vibrational people in their life, in a lot of Leo in this energy, I view the Queen of Wands as Leo. The Five of Swords is Aquarius. The Death card is Scorpio energy. And this one. And the Karma Judgment card. You know, they've had people in their life, but they harness their Leo energy different again. You know, they're more motivated and inspired to bring a dream into reality. And part of bringing a dream into reality is everyone has to be willing to change. The Death card's about death and transformation. The Fives talk about change. Everybody has to work through some of these issues that kind of aren't conducive in the death energy to things moving forward differently. You know, kind of be willing to see some of the things that need to change. See some of the things that manipulate us. People in our life who manipulate us. Our ego, our fear, our lack of belief in ourselves, past pain and heartbreak. You know, we have to hold ourselves and other people accountable. And some people in their life see the truth of that. But they don't want to see the truth of it. So the people in their life have mental conflict about ending a relationship with them in the Death card. That isn't what they wanted to do. But nothing changes. And it stays dead and stagnant. That's shadowy energy. You don't ever give birth to anything new. It's the same thing over and over and over. Because they are unwilling to change. They are unwilling to hold people accountable or themselves accountable. And the same things keep happening over and over and over. And the more high vibrational people in their life will see that some people in their life who they thought were more motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness, kind of see they're just more about themselves or manipulating people, controlling people, being more about themselves, ego, image. And that's not the truth of some of the people in their life. And some of the people in their life are like, I don't know where, I didn't used to view that person that way, but it seems like that's who they are. And that's not my truth, and I think they're more superficial and shallow. Or they're intimidating and controlling with people they get in a relationship with. And I don't condone that. Either way, those people are leaving and calling judgment on them. And this has happened before. But they don't want people to know that. And they go back and try to find someone else who they think doesn't know the truth about them, doesn't know the truth about why those relationships ended or those other friendships, don't know maybe the way they acted or behaved in the last friendship or relationship or job, and they go back and they do it again. And ultimately, you know, if there's people in their life who also are more inspired to be in a relationship and stay in a relationship because of their fear of change, because it might look good by worldly standards, might want to be trying to manipulate someone else, are kind of people who are more about ego and image and really don't want to do love, and it is more about creating this illusion of just how wonderful our life is. That's a shadowy Scorpio energy. It's all about the ego and the image, and I like you good enough, you like me good enough, we'll have sex together, and we'll create this illusion of how wonderful our life is. Judgment card, they have the free will to do that if they want. I choose to live more from my ego. I want to win at all costs. It's more about me and the world. I don't want to choose love. They have the free will to do that. And there's people in the world who right now look very victorious and successful in the world, and they're not really about love. Our neighbors, our friends, and family members. It's just, and with some of them, it's not as egregious as with other people. Can they be perfectly fine people that we can get along with? Yeah. We just don't know them well enough that it's not really love that drives and motivates the decisions that they make in their life. And we can get along with them fine. With a lot of them. Sometimes they're more egoic, competitive, jealous, envious, immature, want to win at all costs attitude could come out, and then we could distance ourselves from them more. With others, we just kind of feel like maybe they have a lot of mental conflict that they haven't worked through. Still have a lot of things that manipulate them. We could have already went through that stage of life. We moved on. We can have love and encouragement and know those people. And just like people right now can view us as more, why do they live their life like that? Why didn't they wrap their brain around it? Why blah, blah, blah. And they could view us as much more immature. There's always more mature people and less mature people in the world. And but regardless, it's like to treat other people the way you like to be treated. Don't get in more involved relationships with people who you know or come to know that you're kind of on different pages. But everybody was given free will, and it all serves a purpose in the world. Helps maintain balance in the world, and gives everybody free will choice. You live your truth, let them live their truth, and everybody will have the repercussions of the choices and decisions they make. And just like you overcame your more worldly, egoic, or fearful or codependent nature, other people do that. And when you quit investing more of your time, energy, and effort into being at that stage of life, or other people are at that stage of life, it frees you up to get in relationships with people who are more on the same page as you. And then you go on that journey of life at that stage of life. I just think the high vibe people offered the people in their life truth and love and encouragement for those people to work together with them. The more worldly, shadowy people said no. Now, we can have people in our life, though, who are the ones wanting the relationship to move forward. And if we know that's not our truth, they can claim that. They did offer truth and love to people. But if other people are like, I don't think, though, this is really more just and fair. I don't think it's for the right reasons. I'm going to take this time to heal, really think about what I think is just and fair, and then you might let some people who wanted to work together with people in a relationship, but again, more from this worldly foundation. And some people are like, yes, they did offer me truth and love and were encouraging and supportive. I just don't think that it's love that drives and motivates them. I think it's these other reasons. So I was defensive to moving forward with them, and I worked through some of these issues within myself, and I want to be in relationships with people who I think are being more authentic, that I can have a more deep, meaningful relationship with, right? So it's not just like, oh, I offered to work with this person and they must be the awful person then. No, it's kind of the intention behind it. We're people being, and some people could be being authentic, and we can get out of relationships where people have love for each other. It's just like, I just think, what is that special component that makes that a relationship could be okay, and a lot of things you like about it and things you love about that person, but it's like that special magic that we don't understand. That's maybe not there. And I don't, again, want to just settle for the illusion of it seeming to be like that. I would rather go live my life and be single and be available for if someone who is that happens with. It's just like, getting in friendships with people who kind of become a best friend versus people who you could hang out with a long time, but they never become a best friend. It's that special mix. And again, some people, though, don't want to get out of the relationships that they're in because they're fearful that won't happen. Well, if you're not really happy in what you're in, you're not even giving yourself that opportunity. And just not being in something that's not aligned with your truth gives you the opportunity to get more clear about what your truth is. And I don't know. I think God wants us to get justice, to not live a life of illusion, not stay in things more out of our ego or our fear, to listen to our intuition, to love ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and put some more faith and trust in ourselves and God and the creative, inspired energy in the world that wants to give birth to something new while everyone else is kind of repeating some old patterns. It's like, let's give birth to something new. I can only work with other people who are willing to work together with me in that way. Who wants to give birth to something new? And some people are like, no way, man. That way I'd have to be more authentically myself. I'd have to shine my authentic light in the world. I'd have to not make my life about more conforming to the world. And other people are going to go do it. And yeah, it could like shake up the world in some ways. And shake up some friendships or relationships or communities. But the other people are like, I'm not willing to live a life of illusion. I'm trusting my intuition and adhering to my truth, which can be different than other people's truth, but I'm following it. And some people could be shocked at the people in their life who are not willing to settle for the illusion anymore. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.